Good afternoon. So, as I'm sure lots of you know, I finished a GT for the first time this weekend, and I wanted to give my thoughts on some specific units and battle tactics and so on to do like how the tournament went and how I felt. So, let's talk about the Maw-krusha. I decided to taking a Maw-krusha was something that I sort of went back and forth on when I was designing this list. When I was asking around for different opinions from different people, I felt like there were two very distinct camps. One was like, always bring a Maw-krusha. Maw-krusha is amazing. And the other camp was the Maw-krusha is too many points and is not going to help you out in what you're trying to do. And I think that the difference between the two play styles of having a Maw-krusha or not having a Maw-krusha, to me, felt like, do you want to have more long-term, like, wounds on the table, models on the table, grind you out over the long term sort of plan? Or would you rather have fewer models, fewer wounds on the table, but have something that has a really big punch? Something that can come in and hit where it needs to hit and get where it needs to go for that one time slug. That's the difference. I think the one time slug was I think the right call for me at this tournament. I was a big fan of Maw-krusha. So game one against Nurgle. So I've never won a game against Nurgle until this game. I won this game, and like the way that my opponent deployed 30 plague bearers in the middle of the table. I'm not even sure if that's what they're called. Just like their little units or whatever. And they had like a big Glotkin behind it with two more like mounted heroes on like big spitty things. I don't know. And I deployed almost like really far back in like a semicircle, like a U, like it's like far away from my opponent. And because I knew that what my opponent would do was march everything up the board, and then on turn 2 or turn 3, I would teleport the Maw-krusha behind, and then get in and try to hit the Glotkin with one big punch. I also tried to sneaky miasma into nasty hex on the Glotkin with my Gobsprak, but I failed the sneaky miasma roll. But that's a pretty cool trick, right? Like you sneaky miasma and then nasty hex, and then on your move you just fly away, right? 14 plus d6 if you want to run. So that's exactly what my plan was, and that's exactly what happened. I got behind him. I popped Destroyer, popped Fasten, like Mighty, if you get a teleport off with a Maw-krusha, you get to go where you want to go anywhere on the table between Mighty Destroyers and Fasten, right? Like you're not receiving Unleash Hell, you're not allowing them to do any kind of redeploys. Like you're getting exactly where you need to go, and then when you pop Destroyer for that extra damage, like you're deleting whatever it is that you want. You're coming in with that one big punch, and that's exactly what happened. And after I killed the Glotkin, from that point on, then it was easy, right? Then the advantage was definitely on me. I had a Maw-krusha that hadn't been injured. He had to turn around with a couple other units and try to chase after the Maw-krusha, right? Like I was this threat suddenly behind him. It was awesome. Like the Maw-krusha did exactly what he was supposed to do. He was exactly that one big punch, and it was fantastic. Game 2 against Khorne, I lost this game. He got on top of my Maw-krusha and killed it. He got on top of my Maw-krusha before the Maw-krusha was able to do anything. So it felt bad. I lost a lot of points from those from those attacks, and he died. But again, I misplayed this game. I didn't realize what my opponent was actually able to do. So if I was going to play it again, I think that I would have been better off. And the thing with Bellacor, right, is that once per game Bellacor like picks a unit, and then there's a good chance that it's not going to do much that turn, or it's not going to do much when you need it to do much. So I think the Maw-krusha was probably the weakest this game. So I don't really have anything to say, right? Because again, I just misplayed it and didn't get a chance. Again, against Lumineth, the Maw-krusha won me the game. I turn 1 alpha struck him. I just like jumped in with a Maw-krusha and a unit of pigs and got right into his deployment in the corner, and I was able to knock out a whole block of sentinels, almost all of them. I would have been able to get all of them, but I forgot to stop. So a D3 plus 3 mortal wounds would have been enough to finish off the unit. But after I got rid of all those sentinels, I think I save stacked him before he went in, right? I had like on my opponent's, he had like Mystic Shield, and then on my opponent's turn, I their finest houred him, and with all out defense, right? It was like triple plus 3 save, and so the Maw-krusha was able to survive for another couple turns, even being right in my opponent's face. And he traded for well more than his point value, and he single-handedly won me the game. So the ability to alpha strike across the board if you don't have a Maw-krusha is going to be a lot more difficult to do, right? That triple Mighty Destroyer is quite strong. So Maw-krusha was 100% like a very good unit for me against Lumineth. Against Sylvaneth, it was kind of the same thing. The Maw-krusha stayed in the back and waited. I guess I shouldn't say. It's the same thing as the Nurgle game. The Maw-krusha sort of stayed in the back, stayed in the middle, issued commands across the board very efficiently, right? Like lots of all-out defenses, like triple rally, reroll charges, all kinds of good stuff, right? That triple command is really good and strong. So he did that, and then at one point, my opponent Drycha was out of position, was in a spot where I could get to him, and so that was it, right? Drycha's out on the table, and the Maw-krusha's like, oh, fast and Mighty Destroyer chart, getcha. Because I knew that Drycha has like some pretty good shooting, so it was fast and into Mighty Destroyer charge. And then that's it. Gotcha, right? No Unleash Hell, no redeploy. Like I'm now on top of Drycha, pop Destroyer, Drycha's toast, dealt like 20, like 30 mortal or 30 wounds or something silly like that, right? And deleted the unit I needed to delete, right? Like against Lumineth's big punchy heroes, I was bigger and I was punchier. So that felt really good. Again, he did exactly what he needed to. He was where he needed to be and punched the thing he needed to punch right on time. Against Seraphon, my Maw-krusha was not particularly strong again. I feel like I misplayed it a little bit. On my plan against Seraphon was to get in as fast as possible. And that's kind of what I did, but the terrain wasn't really in my favor. I turn 1 Mighty Destroyer, the Maw-krusha, and 2 Unit of Pigs, but I should have so the Maw-krusha died before he was able to get into combat. He just kept getting chipped down from spells from Seraphon. Weirden would have been really nice here, but I had Fasten instead. What I should have done is I should have turned 1 Fasten. I should have turned 1 Mighty Destroyered some units forward, and then I should have Fastened, and then I should have moved, and I should have charged. I should have charged the Maw-krusha on turn 1. I should have put my Maw-krusha into my opponent's face and been like, he's gonna get in here now and he's gonna do something now, and then hopefully he's gonna trade for enough value that I'm able to outvalue you in the game, right? Like I was hoping to do that, but you know, it's hard. Like my opponent had 12 casts and I had 5 unbinds at most, and Gobsprak with 2, right? And so I was like, oh, I got to get that Slawn, but with so many casts, it was just too much to get through. So I feel like if against armies like this, against armies that are going to outvalue you, like summoning armies or armies that can really castle hard and don't care, you know, like alpha striking them with a Maw-krusha is actually a pretty good strategy. Because you can get there. You can teleport a unit of pigs, you can fasten, and then Mighty Destroyer that unit of pigs for a very easy charge, right? Because you're 9 inches away, and if you're doing this on turn 1, that's a 9-inch charge with Mighty Destroyer. Or you can Mighty Destroyer the pigs at like 12.1 inches so that they get to move their 9, so they're on a 3-inch charge in the charge phase. But then you take Unleash Hell, right? So you have to kind of make those decisions against, like, depending on the targets and the opponents and all this. And, you know, you get your tape measure out and measure your 6 inches and try to figure out how you're going to get in there. But, yeah, overall, big fan of the Maw-krusha. Overall, I thought the Maw-krusha was absolutely fantastic. I think there's going to be certain matchups where having, like I think that instead of the Maw-krusha, right? Maw-krusha is 450 points. So instead of taking the Maw-krusha, I think what you do is you take 3 units of brutes instead. I think that's kind of the idea, is because you're not going to take more Ardboys. I was running 2 units of pigs, so you could run another unit of pigs, but I think what you're really looking for is more units of brutes. So I instead of the Maw-krusha, I took 5 brutes, but instead of the Maw-krusha, I could have had 2 units of 10 brutes. So they would be marching up the table much more slowly, and it would have been a lot harder to get them where they needed to be when they needed to be there, right? But the Maw-krusha definitely felt good, big fist, won me a game, right? Straight out. He was quite good, so I was a big fan. If you don't play big Maw-krusha in your big wall list, you should give it a try. Like, subscribe.